Man, you guys ever notice that, like, every movie company's just remaking all their old stuff? I can't believe no one's talking about this yet. But you know, this movie kind of presents me with a bit of a conundrum. So, about a year or so ago, I made a video about How to Train Your Dragon. My usual format of, like, you know, you follow along with the movie and comment on and joke about whatever's happening. Now, I've made videos about remakes for years now, but it's always the Disney remakes, right? The ones where, you know, they make these drastic changes that just completely miss the point of the original. And herein lies my aforementioned conundrum. The How to Train Your Dragon remake is almost quite literally a shot-for-shot, line-for-line remake of the original 2010 movie. So, like, obviously I can't just make the same video again, you know? Although that would be a really funny meta-commentary on, like, the entire remake industrial complex if I just took the same video, replaced all the movie scenes with the live-action ones. But I bet you'd all complain, right? You'd all be like, hey, wait a minute, this is the same script and the same jokes, it just looks a little different. But DreamWorks doesn't, they make $1 quadrillion. Now, I've made this pretty clear over the years, but I'm a huge fan of animation, okay? So much so that I actually do it, you know? We ain't just Family Guy posing over here. And like, of course, 2D is the best and 3D is fine, but I will never understand, like just on a fundamental level, why turning something from animated to live action is always seen as the more legitimate thing, you know? Like the highest accolade animation can ever achieve is just to not be animated. Animation can be anything. Like, you can do anything, but live action, you can only ever just look like people doing stuff. In watching this How to Train Your Dragon live action remake, it really cemented everything I find so off-putting about this whole making remakes thing. So what do you say we take a walk and talk about it, okay? But before that, really quick, this video is brought to you by Raycon. If there's one thing I've learned to do in these videos over so many years, is that everything comes back around eventually. Movie remakes, video game remakes, Nickelodeon game shows, my dad. And Raycon is no different. Right now, the everyday earbud classics are back and better than ever. You know the everyday earbuds, you know the everyday headphones, but have you tried the everyday classics? Well, you should, cause they're awesome. 32-hour battery life with 8 hours of continuous playtime. They now come with active noise canceling. They fit even better than they used to. I'm telling you, Raycon's got it figured out. As I've said before, I actually, for reals, for serious, use my Raycons literally every day. At the gym, walking the dog, when I'm drawing, when I'm thinking about Morticia Adams, all the time. Everything you love about Raycons, the battery life, the sound quality that rivals the big brands, all for like half the price you'd expect. And thanks to me, you can knock that price down even further. Just go to buyraycon.com/Meyers and you'll get 20% off your own pair of everyday earbud classics. You're getting some great earbuds for a great price. Okay, back to the show. So as the movie opens up, we're introduced to all the human characters we're supposed to care about. You all know the story. Hiccup's dad is Stoic, and is also named Stoic, and he hunts dragons, or dragonsh, as they call them in the original movie. And Hiccup wants to be accepted by his dad and his village, but he's just like not that kind of dude, you know?
Oh, again? Jen, I'm not even here. I'll be in and out before you can say. Not so fast. Come on, please.
The meathead with attitude and interchangeable hands is Gobber.
Yeah.
So prefacing like everything I'm gonna say, this is not a criticism of the actors themselves, okay? Just being clear on that. But this right here is kind of exactly perfectly encapsulating what I'm talking about. So in the original 2010 movie, it's very stylized in that DreamWorks kind of way, right? The characters are absolutely hideous, right? But you know, they're coming off of like Shrek 7 by that point. And you know, DreamWorks has always kind of postured themselves as being like the anti-Disney. You know, so the movie was like Shrek meets Ren and Stimpy or whatever, okay? But they were stylized, they're properly silhouetted animated characters. When you translate that into live action, everyone just looks like some dude, you know? Like we have animated Hiccup, the main character, who stylistically fits into this world. But then over here, we just have some dude who works at Hollister and likes taking girls mudding, you know what I mean? Stoic does kind of mostly look like himself, to be fair. I think Gobber is the biggest change here because like, this is Gobber, right? He looks horrendous, but also very visually interesting. And live action Gobber is just a guy.
If you ever want to get out there and start fighting dragons, you've got to stop all of this.
You just gestured to all of me.
Yeah. Stop being all of you. Oh, yeah.
You, sir, are playing a dangerous game.
Now, compare this to the original scene from 2010.
If you ever want to get out there to fight dragons, you need to stop all this.
But you just pointed to all of me.
Yes, that's it. Stop being all of you.
Oh,
yes.
You, sir, are playing a dangerous game.
Like, is this not just better in every single way? It's funnier, it's more visually interesting. The camera is in way more visually stimulating positions. You look at 3D Gobber and you're like, wow, that's a weird looking dude. I wonder what his story is. And you look at live action Gobber and you're like, uh-oh, stranger danger. The same goes for the other kids too, like the twins, okay? Now, to be fair, this dude does look a lot like this dude, okay? But like, You know what I'm saying? These characters are insanely ugly, but they fit perfectly into the world of How to Train Your Dragon. The whole point of Hiccup being juxtaposed against all these people is that the Viking world is violent and gross and dirty and weird, hence why Hiccup not fitting in is such a huge sticking point.
Isn't a joke, Hiccup. Oh, why can't you follow the simplest orders?
I can't stop myself. I see a dragon and I have to just kill it, you know? It's who I am, Dad.
And this is illustrated by his own character design of having normal hair and a normal face and his body in general. Like everything about him just looks more plain, right? Perhaps the world looks the way it does because this is how Hiccup sees himself against the backdrop of everything and everyone else. Or probably I'm just thinking way too deep about it. But whatever, doesn't matter. All of the visual storytelling of who Hiccup is in relation to the world around him, it's largely gone in the remake because it's all just regular people now. But like, it doesn't have to be this way in live action. I mean, there's so many instances of nailing this kind of look and feel, you know? Like Home Alone 2, Kevin runs into all these scary-looking adults, and the point is that this is how he sees them as a 10-year-old kid, right? They look terrifying. Kind of sort of look like this. Or Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Like regular human Barbossa looks way more like a dirty, gritty Viking than anyone in this movie. So this is something I talked about back in my video about Mufasa, which itself, of course, is an extension of the Lion King live-action remake. Of course, there's a lot of technical skill that goes into modeling and texturing and lighting of all this stuff, right? I know it probably took a long time. I'm not trying to take away from any of that. But at the end of the day, you're still just making a tree that looks like a tree or a rock that looks like a rock. There's no like artistic vision or creative soul. It's just like, wow, you made a tree. Yep, that rock sure looks like a rock. Maybe this isn't the best example to make my point because the original 3D movies also kind of look like semi-realistic. But even still, there's a congruent style here. The shape of the rocks, the trees, the way the water looks, it fits into the world at large. You can have very visually fantastic elements that work in live action. I mean, look at Hook or Neverending Story or Labyrinth, you know what I mean? We've really lost imagination in movies, I feel like. Ironically, you'd think with CG being as good as it is now, like we would have utterly fantastical movies. But people only seem to want this. And so this is all we get now. The live-action of animated stuff is so inherently constricting, right? Because in this, you can do anything. Any of these characters can do anything. And because it's animated, you suspend your disbelief as far as you need to.
This time, for sure.
Mind yourself! The devil still has some juice in there!
But then in this, you only have like a tiny amount of wiggle room because things get uncanny and unbelievable and just weird and cringy like so fast. Most of the jokes I feel do not land at all in the live action version. I mean, the timing, the delivery, the fact that it's a real person saying and doing these things, like a lot of it does not translate over, I feel personally, because it just feels so inherently different.
If you ever want to get out there and start fighting dragons, you got to stop all of this.
You just gestured to all of me.
Yeah. Stop being all of you.
Oh, yeah.
You, sir, are playing a dangerous game.
If you ever want to get out there to fight dragons, you need to stop all this.
But you just pointed to all of me.
Yes, that's it. Stop being all of you.
Oh,
yeah.
You, sir, are playing a dangerous game.
Not that this is some kind of super hilarious joke, but it just feels so much better in the animated version. Like in the live action version, it doesn't really feel like a joke. It just feels like they're just like talking, you know what I mean? I also felt the same about all these other kids. Like having them be real people who kind of just talk and act like people, it shaves off a lot of the joke delivery potential.
The deadly nada.
Attack 8, armor 16.
The hideous shipwreck.
Plus 11 stealth, times 2.
The monstrous nightmare.
Firepower 15.
The terrible terror.
Attack 8, rated 12.
Will you stop that? The deadly nada.
Speed 8, armor 16.
The hideous Zippleback.
Plus 11 stealth times 2.
The monstrous nightmare.
Firepower 15.
The terrible terror.
Attack 8, venom 12.
Can you stop that?
Like, I can't be the only one who thinks that this feels so much better. Now, obviously, live-action movies can be very funny, you know, but they have to be written and crafted as a live-action movie from the get-go. Trying to just take the humor of an animated movie and put it in live action, like, it's not gonna work. Because, like, either you have real people talking and acting like cartoon characters, which is unwatchably cringy, or, as is often the case, you have to dial back the silliness and whimsy to fit in with the live-action-ness. A lot of the humor is heavily reduced or just completely falls flat. Okay, so remember way back when the first Sonic movie was coming out and they showed off this freaking guy? and everyone was like, what? The reaction was so bad that they actually went back and totally redesigned everything. And now that movie franchise is huge. Now, to be fair, Toothless does look largely the same, but also like not though.
Toothless. I could have sworn you had teeth.
Huh. Toothless. Could have sworn you had teeth.
So in making all of this live action, they kind of made Toothless look more real. Basically just means uglier. Like, he's a real cute little dude in the original, okay? And so they did the thing that the US always does, where like cute equals bad, and so they just made it kind of more ugly, you know? Like 1993 Mario Brothers movie, Mega Man box art, Kirby, Sonic, Stitch remake, Toothless. Americans, by and large, absolutely hate bright colors and cute aesthetics, okay? Even the US version of cute is just like, not. This extends to like all the dragons in the movie too, because again, in the original, they were very stylized in a ugly yet endearing, full of character kind of way. They fit the artistic direction of the world as a whole, but in the remake, they just kind of look like weird dragons.
You have to choose between a weapon and a shield. You've got to put it down.
It's the same kind of thing they did in like Little Mermaid, where they took all of this, and then they turn it into whatever this is. Or like I was talking about earlier with Lion King and Mufasa, where like they took the fun, expressive, interesting, adorable characters, and they made this nightmare dude? What kid wants this on their backpack, you know what I mean? And so, How to Train Your Dragon. You have a slightly uglier Toothless, and a much more boring everything else. But hey, at least it looks kind of gritty and real and desaturated, so it's okay if I, an adult, enjoy this movie.
I'll take care of this. Oh, not my fault, Astrid. I got distracted by the light in your eye.
You know, it's tale as old as time, but like it's still like this though, where it's like bright colors and cute characters. This is either for kids or worse, for girls. I ain't watching this crap. I only watch sophisticated, grown-up big boy movies like Superman. So as many people have said over the many years that this has all been going on, the whole remake industrial complex emporium extravaganza is largely based on a very cynical mindset. Now, I'm not gonna sit here like a lot of people on YouTube and pretend that doing art for money has not been like literally the entire driving force behind everything since forever. What, you think Michelangelo paid at the Sistine Chapel for fun? For love of the game? This dude made like $500,000 doing this. Ancient Greek Roman sculptors were getting paid insane amounts of money for making all these. So I do feel like it's a little weird that now artists are supposed to be like starving in poverty, or else they're just doing it for the money, you freaking sellout, am I right? Like, you do know that every single major movie that ever gets made, first and foremost, is for the money, right? The individual people working on the movies might be trying to express themselves artistically, but none of this would exist if someone didn't think it would be a good investment. Now, that being said, I feel like How to Train Your Dragon remake is perhaps the most cynical remake we've ever had. Because like I said, the vast majority of it is a shot-for-shot remake. There's a little bit added here and there, there's a little bit taken away hither and yon, but it's very much just a copy of the original.
If we survive, I'm gonna kill you!
And now the spinning! Thank you for nothing, you useless reptile!
We need her to like us. And now the spinning. Thank you for nothing, you useless reptile.
So like quite literally the only reason anyone would do this is to make money as easily as possible. Like as bad and dumb as most of the Disney remakes are, a lot of them at least tried to do something different, okay? Now most of the time this results in a completely missing of the point and perhaps a drastic overcorrection, but you know, like what if Ariel was black? What if Snow White actually did something? What if Dumbo didn't have as much racism? What if Pinocchio gave you more nightmares? In making these changes, they often change character personalities, they change parts of the hero's journey, and we end up with something that kind of misses like the whole point. But then on the other end, we have this movie where they don't really change much and we just have a less interesting, less fun, less funny version of the original. I think this movie really illustrates the big flaw with remakes as a whole because, like I just said 4 seconds ago, if you change stuff, it ruins what made people love the original. But if you change nothing, then it's just because you know people are big old suckers, they're gonna buy it anyway. The How to Train Your Dragon live action remake is, by itself, a pretty good movie, okay? It's a good movie because it's almost literally a shot-for-shot remake of a fantastic movie. Part of the appeal of the original is that it's like a kid's 3D animated movie that gets into some really dark, deep stuff, right?
Dad, no. For once in your life, would you please just listen to me?
You throwing your lot in with them. You're not a Viking. You're not my son.
I mean, this coming from the people who made Shrek? You kidding me right now? And being pleasantly surprised by a movie, it's a nice feeling. It sticks with you. You know, when you expect, and then you get, and then you're like, y'all know what I'm talking about. But if you stop and kind of think about the hows and whys of this movie, and the fact that it exists at all, and how it's part of this contemporary wave of box office returns have become so heavily inflated that studios really only want to do something if it's as low risk, high return as possible. So even when we do actually get original stuff, like Elio, for example, what we actually get is a heavily pruned, market-tested, executive fingered in the stew kind of thing, where they just want it to be as mass marketable as possible. And that's like the prime directive of everything. So who knows when we'll actually truly get something new and original. But in the meantime, the fat cats at the top are getting stupid rich off of all this stuff. So this is what we're gonna get for forever, I guess. You know, having said all this, just kind of a tangent here, but like on the other side, you have a lot of, for example, video game remakes, video game remasters, HD, you know, up-res, whatever, or even just straight ports where they just like dump the game onto, you know, the Switch eShop or whatever. I personally feel like that is very different because, like, imagine if the only way you could watch How to Train Your Dragon from 2010 is if you bought like a Panasonic DVD player. And that was the only way you could possibly watch it. That's kind of how video games are. So like when companies kind of do even just like a quote unquote lazy like HD remaster, maybe they smooth out some of the friction, some quality of life, you know, now you can save anywhere, now you can do whatever. Like things like that I think are great. But with movies it's different because, I mean, some movies, you know, because of like rights and licensing and all this stuff like that, like sometimes it's difficult to be able to like stream a movie. It's not because of like the technology where it's like this movie can only be played on a Panasonic DVD player. You're like, you know what I mean? You can go back and watch the 2010 original How to Train Your Dragon movie anytime, and it still holds up. It's still great. It's still wonderful. So like I said in the video, you know, when Disney does remakes and they change a bunch of stuff, oftentimes it's for the worse, but at least they're trying to make it a different experience. Whereas this remake, I mean, like I said, the movie's very good, but just like, it's just the most like unnecessary thing where it's just like, here's the exact same movie, but just kinda a little bit worse. Thanks for $600 quadrillion.